These are the 4 characters in Etheria Restart you should be re-rolling for. And yes, in my opinion, these are the only 4. There are many amazing anima in this game. That's what they call the characters. However, because it is such a generous re-rolling system that doesn't take that long, and because we can get our hands on those amazing top-tier light dark units just from the initial re-roll, in my opinion, the main 4, that is who you've got to go for. How the heck are you guys? I am Fastidious. Welcome to an Etheria Restart video. Let's get right into it. I put out a guide yesterday taking you through the whole process of rerolling and why you really should do it in this game. So definitely go check that one out. On top of that, after this video in a couple days, I will have a very technical guide, step by step, telling you how to reroll. But this one is ranking those top 4 characters that you just got to prioritize in your reroll. So we are going to rank them 4 to 1. Let's hop right in. You know, obviously there are a lot of really good characters in this game. That's kind of what I love about it. Every animus has its purpose, but without a doubt, some are better than others. And frankly, because affinity is such a strong part of this game, there are certain bosses that are only one affinity and you have to conquer them. Getting an affinity neutral light dark unit is just broken, especially at the start of the game. So because just from your normal summons, you'll see here on the permanent summon banner, this is your standard banner if you're used to other games, you can get the top tier light dark units, the best units in the game. There's no reason not to do that. When you start a new account in Etheria Restart, it takes you approximately 15 minutes to get to the point where you've gathered enough summons and you can enter the summoning portal and get after it. And you will see, this is what it will look like for you on day 1. There are a lot of banners open for you. There's this guaranteed limited banner for Freya. There's the guaranteed limited light dark banner for Messiah. We have a targeted summons, guaranteed whoever you want in 40 summons. And then finally, we have our permanent summons. This is just your boring standard banner. I actually think this is the sexiest banner of the bunch because this gives you the opportunity to use your normal summoning currencies and hit an OP legendary quality SSR light dark unit. These affinity neutral units have busted kits and they are busted for so much content. And as you can see, there's 5 of them. One of them will get an honorable mention, but does not make my list of the top 4 whom you should actually be re-rolling for. Now, the reason you should be starting on the permanent summon banner over here that you can see right behind me, even though it is the boring banner, is because this banner has the highest potential payoff on a reroll. The other banners aren't going anywhere for a while. You'll be able to chip away at all of these. Frankly, this Messiah limited light dark banner is awesome, but getting enough light dark summons to get that Messiah, if you're anything but a big spender, is going to be impossible to start off the game. The Freya banner is super strong, but you will easily get her, and this isn't going anywhere. Same thing for the targeted summons. I also want to point out, and we'll talk about this a bit more in my technical guide, the targeted summon banner is really good for picking up a top animus or character you really need. You should wait until you've had a good reroll, picked up a couple on the permanent summon, and see who you've actually already gotten. Then you go for the targeted summon. If you go into the targeted summon and you choose to pick up a Tiamat or a Beyondine, something amazing like that, but you actually are going to just end up pulling one from the permanent summon banner anyway, you're not leveraging this properly. So for those reasons, we know you're not going to have a shot unless you're a big spender at the Messiah banner. Then for the Freya banner, you're going to get her eventually. She's not going anywhere for a while. And then on the targeted banner, you want to do this a little later on into the start of your account when you're filling in the gap with whatever key animus you're missing. You absolutely have to start here on the permanent summon. And if you want to min-max, which I really think you should do, you want to be targeting a top tier light dark unit. So let's get into it. Honorable mentions, if you don't want to follow my advice, you don't want to properly min-max, and you're comfortable trying to pick up an affinity non-light dark unit, I will throw out a couple honorable mentions. Let's start with Real Mocha over here right above my head. She is just a goated DPS, especially in Dokyoki, which is the most important gear farm you're going to have at the start of your journey. This is where you get Swift Rush modules, aka speed gear. This is a turn-based game. Speed is absolutely king, just like it is in any other turn-based game. She is going to just help you in such a huge way. Next, I want to shout out Tiamat over here. She is just the hardest carry in this game, certainly of the non-light dark, the general affinity units. So many people will select her as their 40 guaranteed summon, their targeted summon over here. and she's really freaking good. I want to give a shout out to Beyontin. Beyontin is just an insanely good buffer, and she's a great reviver, something super rare in this game. She's going to help you in absolutely tons of content. And then finally, my favorite character in the game, we got Rosa. Yeah, she's hot as heck, and she's amazing. I actually just put a video out on her. Definitely go check it out. Fantastic DPS and fantastic debuffing. She's key for a lot of content and amazing in PvP. You can't really go wrong with a lot of these, but those are my top 4. And then if you want to do a non-light dark specific reroll, you go for one of those 4, and then you can pick up the other one you want from the targeted eventually. However, it's got to be light dark, baby. And you're probably wondering, he keeps saying 4, and there are 5. Who is the unlucky LD animus that is not going to make this list as we count up the list from 4 to 1? Well, maybe you guessed it if you already played the game on the open beta, the final test. It's going to be Shadow Sonia. Shadow Sonia is really, really good. Don't get me wrong. And, if you're re-rolling for a while and you finally did hit a light dark and it's getting late in the day and you just want to play the game and you get Shadow Sonia, I think it's a fine choice. The reason I'm against her is just her kit is really niche. It's very powerful, but it's really niche. She is all about dots, aka damage over time effects. In this game, they literally just call them dot, D-O-T. And she puts out dots, she extends dots, she explodes dots. This is something you might be familiar with if you've played other turn-based games. It is really strong. It is really, really good, but it is specific, and it requires leaning into a very specific kind of team comp. I will give a shout out over here to Obal, who is another dot unit who fits perfectly with Shadow Sonia, so you can pair those two together and have a lot of fun. But in my opinion, Shadow Sonia, as good as she is, and some people will reroll specifically just for her because she is really cool and she's a lot of fun to use, but I believe she's just very specific and she isn't as globally dominant as these other 4. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the other 4. These are the 4 characters, the 4 anima in Etheria Restart, which you should be re-rolling for. No one else, just these 4, no exceptions. Let's go. Starting at number 4, we're going to do Dokyoki. Now, if you know anything about Etheria Restart, you know this is going to be a banging list because Dokyoki at number 4 is crazy. That just means we have beautiful stuff to come. Dokyoki is a phenomenal, phenomenal support, an amazing buffer. Let's talk about her 2 key mechanisms. She has one thing called backup. This is a buff she actually applies to herself, but when an ally takes a turn and they're under debuff, she, even though it's not her turn, will expend that buff, consume a stack of backup because she can stack it up to 6 times, and she is going to cleanse up to 3 debuffs from that ally. In most content, 3 debuffs will be all the debuffs, not all content, but a lot of it. So it's basically a full cleanse. And then she applies her second unique mechanic, Data Stream. And this is just a fantastic buff, and it's entirely unique to her. So I'm going out of my way to say that because a unique buff can stack with other general buffs, and you can just double up, triple up, quadruple up on all these special effects. So what does Data Stream do? Well, this is a stackable buff. She can put out a lot of stacks of it, as you're going to see, and each stack is going to increase damage dealt by whichever ally has it, and increase the speed for whichever ally has it. Each stack is 2.5% damage dealt and 2.5 points of speed. You can have up to 12 stacks when you have her at max skills. So you're talking 30% increased damage dealt and 30 increased speed. And like I said, this is a unique buff, so this can also stack with an increased damage kind of buff. So this can also stack with other buffs and effects from other units that increase damage, and it can also stack with something like an increased speed buff. So it's just a great, unique, insanely powerful thing. She puts out a lot of it with this second skill over here. She's going to do 5 random hitters to different allies, like support hits. Each time it lands on someone and it keeps switching between the allies, she's going to be putting out stacks of Data Stream. And then on top of that, as those support hits, those little skills bounce around, they are targeting the allies with the highest total skills on cooldown. And each time they hit, on top of dropping that Data Stream buff, they're going to reduce one of those skills cooldown by 1. She is a big cooldown reducer, which is really, really great. Now, finally, this ultimate over here, she's doing 8 support hits or 8 support moves, jumping around between targets, this time prioritizing the allied targets with the lowest turn meter. Each time these hits bounce around, these support moves bounce around, you're getting a 12% turn meter boost. Speed is king in this game. Boosting the turn meter is an amazing way to effectively speed yourself up in a pretty immense kind of fashion. And on top of that turn meter boost, each time this skill bounces around, it will also drop a stack of Data Stream. Finally, at the end of the skill, she's going to put 5 stacks of backup on herself. Remember, she can also get stacks from her ultimate. She can have up to 6 at a time, and this just keeps the cleansing going like crazy whenever an ally under debuffs takes a turn. Dokyoki is just phenomenal. You can see this amount of support in one kit is applicable to basically every piece of content in the game. There's certain places she's a superstar, but every place she's at least a star. Let's go to our number 3 unit. We're going to stay with our constant affinity, aka our light affinity. They call it constant in this game. We're moving over here to Messiah. Might shock some people that Messiah is down at number 3. He's the best DPS in the game, in my opinion. Just a huge, monstrous nuker who additionally is pretty freaking tanky because he keeps putting invincibility on himself so he can't get hurt. However, the top 2, I just think they bring debuffing and support to a whole new level. But Messiah is such a gem. Because affinity can be an issue for a lot of DPS in this game, if you get your hands on Messiah, the issue kind of goes out the window because he's affinity neutral to all normal affinities in this game. The red, the blue, and the green, he's always going to be cooking and he's always hitting hard. This basic attack here, it absolutely slaps. Single target here with big time multipliers and a 25% chance to inflict this vulnerable debuff. So this is not a character-specific debuff. We'll see another character in a second who has another form of this, but it's unique, so those two can stack together. But this vulnerable will increase damage taken by the target by 30%. That is not just damage dealt by Messiah, it's also damage dealt by anybody. Very, very, very good basic skill here, skill number 1. Additionally, he has this effect, Judgment. When he defeats an enemy, he gains invincibility for 1 turn. You'll see from his ultimate, there's another way he gains invincibility, but this is just another opportunity. And then if he already has invincibility, maybe he got it from the ultimate over here, instead of giving him it, because he already has it, it's going to refresh its duration by 1 turn. So if he keeps killing, his invincibility keeps going up. You kind of can't damage this guy, and all he does is damage the enemies. It's fantastic. Now, a very simple second skill here, single target damage, and it just slaps. It slaps so hard. A triple hitter, each hit is 100% damage, so 300% damage total. The last hit then will deal an additional extra damage that is equal to, with skill ups, 100% of the total HP the target has already lost. The only qualification there is that extra damage cannot exceed 350% of his attack. But build him with a lot of attack, that is a huge amount of damage. It is a completely elite S-tier DPS single target move in this game. And then finally, this monster AoE. He turns all this energy he's been accumulating into a big-ass sword, and it's a double hitter of 180% damage. That's 360% damage total. That's really good, but that might not be blowing your mind. So let me make sure it does blow your mind. That 360% damage, each of those 2 hits for 180%. Again, this is AoE. They're ignoring 70% of all the target's defense, and they're ignoring any passives. Finally, at the end of the skill, he applies invincibility to himself. So you just get it. He's shredding defense, he's slapping, he's ignoring passives, he does this crazy hit with the extra burst at the end. He can even put out vulnerability with a big slapping basic skill over here. And then constantly he's getting invisibility up so he can't take any damage. At the time of global launch, he is the nuker to end all nukers. Let's go to my number 2 pick now. Gun to my head, he might be my favorite of the bunch. He probably is the guy I'll be the most excited to pull if I can get my hands on him, though I just can't put him over number 1. Number 2 is going to be Heinrich. So Heinrich, however you want to say it, he is a freaking beast. Holy crap. He hits hard, and his debuffs are unique, and they are insanely powerful. So let's start with the basic attack. So let's start with his basic attack. 2 key things to focus on here. There's an active component and then a general passive component. First things first, he's going to deal some very, very solid affinity neutral damage. Remember, he's a dark unit. He's a disorder unit. This is going to be 240% damage, and it comes with a 45% chance of placing 1 turn of block. It prevents the enemy that is wearing this debuff from receiving any buffs. That is obviously very strong. But then the passive special effect, however you want to call it, Reaper's Gaze, this is just amazing. Each time Heinrich attacks, this is any of his attacks, which, by the way, if it wasn't clear, the special effect with Messiah, that's the same thing. Judgment, it's when he defeats an enemy with any of his skills, that will be triggered. But going back to Heinrich, anytime he attacks any enemy with any of his 3 skills, he is going to have a 50-50 chance to dispel 1 buff from the target. So not only can he put out the block debuff to keep them from receiving buffs, he can also dispel any buffs they already had. Then the next thing, this takes him to the next level in my opinion, If the target has no dispellable buffs, there's an 80% chance to inflict 1 stack of Last Words. So Last Words is a Heinrich specific debuff. It lasts 3 turns and it is so strong. This thing is stackable. It stacks up to 4 times, and each stack will increase the critical damage taken by the target by 7%. So at 4 full stacks, each crit will deal 28% more damage. It also increases the chance for the target to take a critical hit to begin with, and that with each stack is 7%, so it goes up to 28%. Effectively, when it's at full stacks on the target, it's like a 28% increased crit rate buff for him and all of his allies. Crit rate, especially at the start of this game, is very hard to come by, so this is just so powerful. The key thing, though, is the increased critical damage taken. This stacks with something like the vulnerability that Messiah puts out, and it just leads to a huge amount of damage. Let's go to his second skill now. They're calling it Wound. It is titled Fatal Split Bullet. He's going to draw his pistols, and he's going to start shooting. That first hit deals 180% damage to a single enemy. Then the next hit, 180% damage to a random enemy, and then finally 180% damage to all enemies. For each of the targets that he hits that are not wearing any buffs that can be dispelled from the Reaper's Gaze effect over here, for each one of those, he's going to have a 65% chance to inflict a 2-turn wound debuff. This is essentially an anti-heal or a heal block, heal reduction, whatever you want to call it. The enemy wearing it cannot receive any healing. This can be really clutch in a lot of places. You can just see he's a PvE beast, and he's also phenomenal in PvP. That's kind of the theme for all 4 of these guys. They're just great in all content. That's why I really think this is worth your time. Finally, the big AoE here, Inevitable Fate. This is a triple hitter AoE. Each hit deals 100% damage to all enemies, so in total, it's 300% damage AoE, and the final hit has a 65% chance to inflict a 2-turn block, so again, that is like a block buffs debuff. And then finally, for each stack of Last Words that you've been putting out continuously from the Reaper's Gaze effect, the critical damage from this skill will increase by 30%. This stacks up to 4 times, so you're talking about a potential 120% additional crit damage. This guy slaps. The debuffs are unique and they're crazy powerful. I really think this is the #1 guy I am re-rolling for. He is such a beast. However, he cannot be #1. Maybe people are going to debate me on this, but in my opinion, Lily is just the best unit in the game right now. She's got to be #1. She is the ultimate support, the ultimate utility unit at the time this game will launch. June 5th, 5 days from now, guys. So let's talk about what Lily does. To understand Lily, let's start with her second skill over here. This introduces her key mechanism called Twin Trick. So with this ability, she's going to apply Twin Trick to a target ally and then apply a 2-turn increased speed buff. So remember I said you get that speed from Dokyoki, but it's unique. It can be stackable with the increased speed buff. Here's a great example. So she's going to apply that to all allies. Then if the target ally already has the Twin Trick buff, she will instead apply 3 turns of increased critical damage and immediately start the next turn. So she'll just give herself an extra turn and a big crit damage boost to whichever ally she targeted with Twin Trick that already had it. So what the heck is Twin Trick? This effect is unbelievable. So every time after every one of Lily's actions, whatever ally is wearing Twin Trick will have their turn meter increased by 30%. Key thing now, though, Lily can only apply this effect to one target other than herself at a time, and this effect is removed after Lily dies. So Lily and one other target can be wearing this effect. So what you're going to want to do is put this on a key unit on your team, and then also put it on Lily. And then every time Lily takes a turn, she'll have her turn meter increased by 30%, as well as that target ally that's also wearing it. It can't be overstated how strong this is in combination with the Shadow Trick skill and the rest of the kit. Let's go back to her basic skill here, Hat Trick. This is her skill #1. So Lily deals 240% damage to a single enemy with a 50-50 chance to both increase her turn meter by 20% and increase the turn meter of the ally with the lowest current turn meter by 20%. Additionally, allies with the Twin Trick effect will have a 100% chance to support. So what does that mean? This is an assist attack or an ally attack. Whoever is wearing Twin Trick besides her is going to jump in and join the attack. So very often you're going to want to put Twin Trick on your best DPS. So every time Lily's basic attacking, so are they. Imagine that unit was Heinrich or certainly Messiah. You'd be cooking with absolute gas. To name a non-affinity, imagine it was real Mocha and you're in Dokyoki. You are popping off. Popping off. Lily is so freaking good. Let's go to the AoE now. Dream Trick. This is her skill 3. She cooperates with Mr. Rabbi and Mr. Pitu. I think they want me to say Mr. Rabbi, but I will always say Rabbi because how could we not? These are her little puppets that she hangs out with. And Lily and her puppets will deal 260% damage to all enemies with a 55% chance, so just better than the 50-50, to extend all cooldowns by 1 turn. So all cooldowns of all enemies by 1 turn. This game is all about using your good skills and not having them on cooldown, increasing the cooldown. That is very, very good. Additionally, she will immediately reset all the skill cooldowns for all allies with Twin Trick. So, I mean, doesn't get much better than that. She can reset her own, and she can reset whoever that key DPS is or whomever you put Twin Trick on. So just imagine running her with a Messiah. He can just be using that skill 3 all the time after Lily uses her skill 3. So it could go Messiah skill 3, that crazy AoE, ignoring passives and ignoring defense. Then Lily skill 3, that resets Messiah, and he goes off again. He pops off. There we go, guys. That is my list of the 4 and only 4 units you should be re-rolling for in Etheria Restart. Now, it can be tough, right? It takes about 15 minutes per reroll. You have only a 0.25% chance to get one of these guys. But if you do the math, on average, depending on how many summons we get per reroll, I believe it will be at least 60 and up to 80. That means to get 400 summons, which on average is what this will take between different rerolls to hit one of these light dark SSRs, that will take 5 to 7 rerolls. It's worth it, right? 5 rerolls is an hour and 15 minutes. 7 is an hour 45. Even if this goes horribly wrong, it shouldn't take you more than 3 or 4 hours. That might sound like a while, but for a game you're probably going to be playing for a very long time, every single day, it is a drop in the bucket. Get started on the right foot. Pick yourself up a Messiah, a Dokyoki, a Heinrich, or a Lily. Or do whatever the heck you want. These are just my 2 cents. Thank you so much for watching. If you appreciate the video, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Big thank you to my editor, Mitchell. This was definitely not an easy one to edit. I've been Fastidious. Share it with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.